Hey there everyone, I'm Michael, and welcome to another socially distant dev update. While I wait for Unity to get started up here, I know the aspect ratio is weird. It is now 21 by 9 instead of 16 by 9, but it's recording in 16 by 9, so that's gonna be a little weird. I'm testing out ultra wide recording because when I do my dev streams, I would like to display some sort of banner up on top of the screen and below the screen, and having it record like this allows me to do that because, you know, there's black boxes at the top and bottom of the screen. But for now, I have to apologize for that, especially if it's off center. I have no idea if it's on center or if it's centered properly or not. But either way, I have a lot to show you guys in this dev update. Now, we're still not quite at gameplay, but we are getting even closer to gameplay, and I'm going to show you why and how. So first things first is I'm going to actually start playing the game. And I'm going to create a new save file, because I haven't tested this. I'm going to call the save file this time aklnthndr, and then the save name, ALKA, and he/him. And we got a terminal, so everything worked. Nothing really looks different. The only difference now is that if you do nmap trixelcreative.com, you actually get an nmap scan result. That is because trixelcreative.com is actually a network in the game right now. It's my testing network. I'm making fun of Trixel Creative by doing that. And this is the first ever NPC network I've added to the game. And what you're seeing right now is actually a lot of stuff going on in the background to make this all work. Let's have a look at the debug tools. So we're going to go into the debug menu and go to network debug. And we're going to go into test ISP, and first of all you can see that there is a network called Trixel Creative and another network called aklnthndr. We're going to completely ignore the aklnthndr network, but we are going to click on the Trixel Creative network. And the first thing you will immediately see that's new is the tunnels section. The tunnels section tells the game, when you nmap a network, it tells the game what ports are open on that network and what devices they go to when you connect to those ports. In real life, this also exists. This is called port forwarding, and if you go to your router's administration settings, you can see an basically the exact same interface. You can see here that on trixelcreative.com, we have port 22 on the outside going into port 22 on the inside. The port is open, and it goes to restate source control server. And then port 80, which is HTTP obviously, is also going to port 80 on the internal network, and it is open, and it is going to trixelcreative.com web server. Likewise, 443, which is HTTP with SSL encryption, is also open and going to 443 on the internal network and going to trixelcreative.com web server. You can actually click on these nodes and you can see their information. They are regular local device nodes, just like any other node on the networking simulation, just like your own network simulation node. They are local devices, so you can click on them and view their information. And if I click on Restitch Source Control Server, you can see that it has a list of hackables attached to it. It specifically has port 443, which is HTTP, port 80, and port 22, and they are all open. Now, it should display the difficulty, but right now it doesn't, but they would all be set to unhackable right now, because I'm the one who set them to that. But either way, what this is telling you is these are the ports that are open on the device on the internal network. So you can see that port 80 and 443 are on this device. That's because I have it set to the source control server hackable template. I'll get into that soon, but that means that those ports are open on the device. And port 22 is SSH. I know that might be weird, but think of how Git works. It can work either over HTTPS or it can work over SSH. So the idea is that you would use SSH to pull and push Git stuff to this server, if it were actually a real thing. which it's not. But yeah, so you can see all of the hackables attached to this device. So if you were inside the Trixel Creative network, you'd already hacked into it, you could hack any of these hackables. But if you're on the outside of the network, you can only hack into these hackables. You can only hack into port 22 on the recent source control server. You can only hack into port 80 and 443 on the trixelcreative.com website. And then there is a third device on the network that you didn't see at all through any of that because it was not on the nmap scan and it was not in the port forwarding list. That is Halston's workstation. You click on that, and he only has port 22 open because it's a personal computer, and most Linux users who are fairly advanced tend to have SSH open on their personal computer, just in case they need to SSH in for some reason. I know that's something I do. I hope I'm not weird. I just pulled a keycap off my keyboard. I hope that's not weird. Anyway, so yeah, you can see that Halston also has a hackable, but you can't hack into it from outside the network. You need to be inside of Trixel's network to hack into this device, which is really the depth I'm trying to go for in the hacking system. You can see it coming together. And I think that this is different from a lot of hacking games that I've played, where they don't have this concept of local area networks and NAT, network address translation, and port forwarding and all that stuff. They kind of just spawn a bunch of nodes in the world. Maybe they're connected to each other in some way, but they all have IP addresses. They're all public and static IPs. Sometimes they have domain names, and they kind of just have ports open. Hacknet does that. It doesn't have local networks. It just kind of has computers. That's not how the internet works. So I think Socially Distant is going to have a little bit more depth in terms of its hacking system and its networking system, since we have this sort of concept of internet service providers, networks, and local devices. And all that. Now, you may be wondering, and I know you're wondering if you're a networking person, you're wondering why is it that when I go into the network list for an ISP, I see, Trixel Creative and aklnthndr. That looks all fine, but I go into the network, and instead of seeing all of my devices, I see another node called local router. And then by clicking that, then I can see all of my local devices on the network. This is just a weird quirk with the pathfinding algorithm, and this is the best way of doing it. The idea is that you can't connect to the local network or local router directly. You have to go through the public router to connect into the network. But nodes on the actual internal network can connect to the local router. So the way I've done it is I've made it so that the local router is only aware of the public, or it's only aware of the ISP, I think is how I did it. And if I haven't done it that way, then that's what I'm going to do. And then the public node that shows this menu here, where you can actually select the local router, it's going to be aware of the ISP and the local router, and of course it has all of the tunnel rules. But the local router is a direct connection from the local devices to the ISP, but nothing can directly connect into the local router unless it's outside of, or unless it's inside the same network. That's what I'm trying to accomplish by doing that. I have to do it a bit weirdly. This is not how the real world does it, but this is how Socially Distant has to do it because of how the networking and the pathing system works. But, it gets the job done. Anyway, I figured I would tell you guys that whole system there and the debugging code for it, or not code, but the debugging menu for it, so that I can see everything that's going on in the simulation. It's pretty freaking handy. Now, traceRT, which is a command I implemented. This is a command that in real life on Windows, when you give it a domain name or an IP address, what it'll do is it'll keep connecting to that address, and each time it'll let the connection travel one hop further. The idea being that each hop is a computer between you and the device you're trying to talk to, and traceroute displays those hops. So it displays the path between you and the target computer. This is useful in socially distant because depending on how many nodes are between you and the target computer you're hacking, the connection might be slower. So you might want to know how many nodes are between you and that computer, and it might not necessarily be clear. Well, TraceRT lets you see that. If I do TraceRT TrixelCreative.com, you're going to see that there's quite a lot of nodes in between me and it. First of all, I've got my own computer is a node, so obviously I have to get from me, then I have to get from me to my own router, which is 192.168.2.1. Suspiciously close to my actual real-life internet, by the way. And then I have to connect to some other node at my ISP. I have to connect to 7.1 or .150.59.111, which I will assume is some sort of node at my internet service provider. And then I have to connect from there to my actual ISP. Maybe it's an internet exchange, but then the ISP knows about TrixelCreative.com because we're coincidentally using the same ISP, and then I end up connecting to IP address 128.99.68.65, or is that 0.60.65? Either way, this address is in fact Trixel Creative, because if I do nmap TrixelCreative.com, it will actually show that IP address as it's the same IP. And in fact, if I nmap that IP address, which is 128.99, sorry, I'm a little bit bad at reading. I guess I did implement a zoom feature for a reason. There we go, that's a bit better. 128.99, 80, and 65. If I nmap that, it's going to show me nothing, because I made a typo, I guess. Okay, that's good to know. Thanks. I love you, socially distant. I really love when you do that, by the way. I probably typoed something, to be honest, not gonna lie. I wouldn't be surprised if I typoed something. And I did. It's 90.60.65. Anyway, to prove my point, 128, 99, 60, 65, you can see that I get the same nmap result as I would scanning TrixelCreative.com. And yeah, there's no hacking features yet. You can't hack things yet. The only thing you can do is actually do these nmap scans and these traceroute scans and all that stuff. That's the only thing you can do right now. I will be implementing hacking most likely next. I'm just not sure how the interface is going to look just yet. I'll have to look for inspiration on that end. Maybe you guys have ideas of how you would like the hacking system to work, but we're almost there. Ideally, by the end of next week, you should, in this build, be able to hack into TrixelCreative.com, which is a very weird freaking way, or very weird thought. Don't actually do that in real life. That would be very bad. Yeah. That's basically it. There's one other thing. On Twitter the other day, I kind of made a post saying, hey, reply to this post and I will put you inside socially distant as an NPC in the debug builds. And in fact, I have not done that yet, but what I have done is I've created some agents, some NPC agents here. First of all, there's Richie Ferotama, which is how that's pronounced, because watch Pokemon and you'll find out. And then we have aklnthndr, which is of course me. That's my player agent. This agent, for some reason, doesn't have an ID. I wonder who it is. It's got a pronoun, but it doesn't have an ID. That is really strange. It does also have an asset ID, though. So I can look for that asset and maybe but that is strange that it doesn't have a name. I wonder why that is. I'd have to look into that. That sounds like a bug of some sort. Maybe I created an agent and then I just never gave it a name, but we'll give it a name in this video. So we'll go to characters, and then, yep, there is in fact an agent here that does not have a name. That is strange. This should be Naya0, and it will be Naya0. So Naya is the full name from Twitter, and then you have to fill out quite a lot here. Social handle is going to be Naya0. And then I'm going to set the email or the hell username to Naya0 with the actual word 0, and the email is going to be Naya0. And then the pronoun is going to be he, him, and the other thing that I wasn't reading is going to be whatever it is right now, which is absolutely nothing. And that should fix that. But yeah, this is literally so helpful, this debug menu, being able to go in and say, oh, I have a blank name in this node here, or this agent here, let's figure out why. And then I figured out why, and as you can see, it works. Anyway, that's basically gonna do it for this video. Actually, no. Stay tuned, because there's more. There's actually more. While we're in this asset folder, let's have a look at some of what's around here. First of all, we have networks. There's trixelcreative.com, and as you can see, this is all the metadata info for the network. And then right here, what we have is a list of devices. Pretty simple. And then what we have is port forwarding rules. Now, the port forwarding rules come from the what is it that it comes from? No, the port forwarding rules, the way it works is the game's editor will look at all of the devices you have added to your network, and it'll look at all the ports that are open on them, and it'll let you select which of those ports you would like to have open on the network. So you can see here that for this network, trixelcreative.com, I have no ports open on Halston's workstation. I have nothing forwarded, or I do have 80 and 443 forwarded on the trixelcreative.com web server, and I have port 22 forwarded on Restitch source control server. So yeah, this is how I define those port forwarding rules. It's literally just a checkbox. And then if we go even further, what we have is devices. And then let's pick on Restitch again. This device, as you can see, I've given it a source control server template. And all that does is it says what hackables are actually available on this device. You can create those in the editor. It's not hard-coded like it would have been in Thundershock Engine. In fact, there's also a device type field right here, and right now it's set to server. This device type is for the actual icon in the map, and it's what it'll be referred to as in the UI. But for the actual hackables, it's defined in the hackable template. So let's have a look at the hackable template. There are two of them, or no, there are three of them. There's one for a desktop, which just has SSH open, and as you can see here, you can see all of the different protocols that are in the game's hacking system. And next to them is a checkbox, and if you check that checkbox, then next to that checkbox is the port number that you open up for this protocol. So I've given the desktop device type the SSH protocol, and I've put it on port 22. And then for the web server, or for the source control server, I've given it port 22, port 80, and port 443, and I've assigned the protocols. And then, of course, with the web server, I've only given it port 80 and port 40 or 443 because generally websites on the internet don't have SSH wide open like that unless they're actually source control servers. So yeah. And of course, if I want to clear all the rules, I can clear the rules. So yeah, that's pretty cool. You can create these custom hackable templates that open different ports and all that stuff. So it's really kind of handy. So yeah, if you want to create an ISP, this is what they look like. For example, I could even create a separate ISP for, you know, another real-life internet service provider that sucks. Yeah, you know I'm zoomed in for a reason. And I don't even care if an employee of this company watches and gets mad. They do suck. Their customer service is awful. Anyway, that aside, Bellmaster Race, that aside, that's gonna end this video. I've shown you guys all there is to show in this build. As always, hope you guys learned something. Not that there was really much to... Maybe you could learn a little bit about networking, maybe. Who knows? But I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope to see you guys in the next dev stream. I don't know if I'm going to do it tomorrow or next week, because I have to figure out something I can do in Socially Distant. And I don't know yet. I have a lot of stuff on the to-do list, but I don't know what I can work on in the stream, so I'll have to figure that out. But anyway, I hope to see you guys there. I'll let you guys know in advance if it's going to be tomorrow or next week. But anyway, I've been Michael, as always. Hope you learned something, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.